Okay, everyone. So happy to see you all. Can't see everyone back there. Okay. So today we're going to talk about throwing our jewels to swine.
That's my favorite one.
That's your favorite one, is it? Yeah.
I've been living it.
Has anyone ever heard that Bible?
I've heard it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Everything's
Yeah.
swine.
So do not throw your jewels to swine. Okay, there's so many different ways that we can throw our jewels to swine. We can do it emotionally, mentally, and financially. I'm going to go through each one. But even Jesus in the Bible, yeah?
What's the do not throw pearls at swine? Is that
Same thing.
okay?
That's right, do not throw your pearls, because pearls are also jewels.
Oh, okay.
And so you don't throw them. It says don't cast your pearls to swine. And then there's another one that says don't. It depends on the translation of the Bible as well, right?
Because I want to say I have two versions of the New Testament,
Mhm.
and the wording's different. And I thought, like, what are we supposed to, you know?
Which one am I supposed to believe? Yeah. Exactly. I like the International New Version and the King James version. King James I really like because it has that old language, and then the International Version is what I'll use to read in class and during our workshops because it's easier to read and then just kind of...
I'm glad you're explaining this because for years you've been telling it to me and I haven't gotten what you meant, so hopefully... I was just like thinking that the person I was spending it is a swine. Swine you are, I know who
He
you
watches these videos.
He watches the
I
video.
have to edit his name every single time.
No, I didn't call him out today.
No, you didn't.
I just said you're a swine, that's all.
He's going to be like, look at her talking all that business. Huh? Yeah, I'm recording. Okay, so Jesus in the Bible, in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, he says, do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls, this one says pearls, to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and then turn and tear you to pieces. Now I'm just going to break that up for a second. There's one part in the Bible which I found very interesting and insightful into Jesus' character, actually, because when he was going through a city named Tyre, I say Tyree, and that's what I named my son after, Tyree. And so he was going through Tyre, and when he was going through Tyre, he was giving sermons to people. And this one Greek woman came in and she said, my Lord, my daughter is possessed right now with a demon. Can you please come to my house and cast the demon out of her? In other words, do something, say something. And Jesus turned around and said to her, you know, you basically got to go because right now I'm giving food for the children. What he said in his parable was the food is for the children, not the dogs. So in other words, what he was speaking and what he was teaching was for the Jews. And
Exactly.
And he was like, this is for the children, the chosen ones, not for you. And he told her she had to go. He said, when the children are finished eating, then the dogs will get the crumbs. And she said, well, the dogs will sit under the table and eat the crumbs. And he said, he looked at her and he said, your daughter is healed, go back home. In other words, and that's one thing I love about Jesus, because they showed his personality being a little bit rough. Like he told that woman, you're a dog, get out of here, you're not good enough to hear my word, you're not a chosen one. But when she came back to him and said, well, the dogs will be under the table eating the crumbs, right? He said, wow. And he was able to be humbled. So his own words about teaching us how to be humbled and humble thyself and everything, he was humbled by her and considered her chosen after that because she was so wise to come right back. And what she was saying, she didn't look at him and say, oh, please, you think your food is all that? She actually allowed him to call her that and said, well, I will eat the crumbs then. Right, that's how good you are, my Lord. I will eat what you're saying and just take the crumbs. So I'll sit right here and listen in. And whatever you're teaching, I'll take it home to my daughter and I will heal my own daughter. But what he basically said was, you go home to your daughter, now she's healed. So what he was saying was he's sending his love. And that she already knows what it takes to heal her daughter, for her to say that to him. So I think that is beautiful, and that's where Jesus would often say, bless you. You know, don't throw your jewels to swine. And so that's one of the parts where sometimes we can be judgmental and think somebody else is maybe, you know, no good or whatever. But so we have to really use our wisdom and when we are calling people swines. Angela, make sure you don't call anyone a swine. No, but anyway, so that was just something I really wanted to get into because I found that very interesting, where Jesus can be humble, and he didn't want to throw his jewels to that woman, but he ended up looking at her and realizing that she's not really a swine or a dog. Okay, so our jewels can be emotions, like I said, financial, or also thoughts. Now, I had a dream the other day of my ex. This ex, I was with him for a couple of years, and he was really good to me, very, very good to me, but I knew that we weren't going to be together forever, so I made the break. Finally, I sacrificed and made a break. When I made the break, he took it really bad, and he went online and did a few things that weren't very nice. Sent out an email pretending he was somebody else to someone else, and it was not really nice. I knew immediately it was him. Called him up, and I said to him, I said, listen, I know it's you, I'm calling the police, and I'm going to charge you for cyber harassment. He admitted to everything because I said the IP configuration address will be found out. I was only pulling his leg. I don't even think police would do all that. But I told him all that just to scare him. He admitted to it. That proved to me that I was right in breaking up with him in the first place. He didn't show those ways to me beforehand, but there was something in me that kept saying, him and I aren't right. And I had to follow my gut instinct and break up with him, although it was hard because this man treated me good. You know him well, Anthony. That one. I want to call him out right now. No, but so the thing is this, he actually did that, and then I had a dream of him the other day, and I was in a house waiting on him, and just someone's house, and he came and he knocked on the door, and then I said, oh, I was waiting for you, and we went to the elevator, and he was eating a plate with shrimps on it, like a plate of food, and he was like eating them, slapping and chopping his mouth all open and everything, and eating very disrespectfully. And I remember looking at him at the elevator in my dream and thinking, what am I doing here with him? And then in my dream I said, I'm not going to throw my emotions at him again. He's not right. He's like a swine. And that's what made me want to wake up and actually talk about this today, because so many times we throw our jewels at people who we know or may not even know, but we get that vibe that there's something not right. We have to be careful not to cast, as Anthony said, our pearls to swine. Now, we have to be careful as well not to call people swine, right? And because we all are swine at some point, we gotta admit it, right? None of us are perfect. But when we cast our pearls at swine, that could be emotions. So we could be like just bending over backwards to be kind to someone, bending over backwards to do so much for them and to give them love, to give them affection. And what do? Just stomp on it, like Jesus said in the parables, just stomping on it, just not even care, because they don't recognize they're getting it for free. They're doing nothing for it, absolutely nothing, and they're getting all the love and affection for free. How we know if they're swine is how they treat us after we give it, and also how much they will work for it. So if somebody is working for our emotions and they're showing us emotions back and reciprocating, then most likely they're not a swine, because they are appreciating the pearls and the jewels that we're throwing at them. Because they're reciprocating, they're showing us love, they're showing us affection, they are letting us know how important we are in their life. And some people, they have a very difficult time showing emotions. I know this one dude, and he just smiles barely. When his girlfriend talks nice to him, he's just, right? But that doesn't mean he's a swine, because he does other nice things for her. He doesn't buy her perfumes and all the jewelry and everything, but he will clean her car when it's snowing out. Or he will make sure that she gets her sleep when the kids are running around screaming. They have a lot of kids and stuff, and he will make sure that, you know, they're there for each other. And I think when people, it's when someone does something nice out of the blue, and they don't have to, that they're reciprocating in their own way when it comes to emotions. Mental. The other day, last Sunday, I was at church. Okay, now everyone knows that I was overweight at one point after I had my children. I was 100 pounds overweight after I had my daughter. And so for me, when I see somebody who is 100 pounds overweight or more, right away I think gluttony. And I become judgmental because I know how much I ate to get there. I'm not gonna lie. I was eating it. I'm not talking about no 20 pounds overweight or 30 pounds overweight, 40. It's kind of normal these days in our society for someone to be even 40, 50 pounds. But when you are 100 pounds overweight, you know what you did to get there. When I was only young, right? So I was very, very young. So when someone walks by me and they're that big, I'll think gluttony. I was in church and I got to church late. And sometimes I like to get to church late. When everyone's leaving, I like to go in and I just sit and I feel the energy and I get to talk to God and I just, you know, have a little conversation. I talk about my projects that I have on the go, plans. I'll say certain prayers, all for you guys too. I'll always send a message out to God and praise your name, put your name up in praise and everything. And so what I did on Sunday was I was like in my own world talking to God, and this man who was maybe about 200 pounds overweight walked by me. And right away, of course, this is where I would be a swine, right? But I was like, oh, he's a glutton. Right away, and here I am in church, okay? But that is not right to be in church and someone walks by and you say, oh, they're a glutton. Like, who am I to do that? You know, and I'm admitting it to you guys because I believe most of us are guilty of this. We're all judgmental at some time. And I'm just laying it out there. And right away, God said to me, child, you are in my house. So I'm just putting it out there because I am judgmental too. We all are at some point in our life, right? I mean, I think sometimes I'm so innocent. I don't judge anyone. And, you know, I'll do my tithes and my offering and I'll talk to someone on the street. I don't care who they are. And I think, oh, I'm so humble. But then when those little things happen, and I'm like, oh, wait, no, I have my issues too, right? So he was walking by the first time, and that's when I said to God, God said to me, child, you are in my home, and you are judging my child who was here on time, and you showing up when everyone else was leaving. And he went to go look for his wife, I guess, and his wife came, and they were both the same size. And then I was like, oh, then it was like double hitter. And I was like, oh my God, that's what they do together, right? And then again, God said, child, hold your tongue, hold your thoughts. Who are you? Right? When I was a whole 100 pounds overweight and 80 pounds overweight before, too, after when I had my son. My son's after my daughter. So I had gained 100 pounds during my daughter and then 80 pounds during my son. So I did it twice. Okay, after I knew how to lose it the first time, went and did it again the second time. So who am I? Right?
They were hungry. It wasn't you, it was the children.
That's right. And that boyfriend, remember last weekend, telling me I can't eat French fries. So now what happened was I finally got my thoughts together. Finally realized where I was. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I started to throw my mental thoughts to a very negative place. So I became the swine. And I was throwing my jewels out to negativity. And instead of, because we are all allowed to think. We all have the ability to think. Now we can either think like a swine, like garbage, negative, or we can think positive. So right away I was like, oh God, I'm so sorry to say this. And so the man now God's teasing me, because not only did he get the man to walk and let me see that, he let the man parade back and forth right there in front of me. So my friend was sitting beside me. My friend said, okay, let's go. And I was like, no, I gotta stay for a second. And he's like, why? And I said, well, see that man right there beside you? Don't look. And he's like, of course he looks. And I'm like, we gotta pray for him. And he's like, why? I said, because he's a glutton. And my friend's like, oh, well, what do we say? And I said, just send good thoughts. Send good thoughts, pray for the man. You don't need to know him, just pray, because right now he's struggling, and I've been at that struggle before. I know what it's like to, you lose 5 pounds and then you think you can start eating again. You lose, and then you gain the weight back that you just lost. And I know what it's like. I know what it's like to wake up in the morning and feel a little thinner, and how good it feels to be like, oh yeah, no chocolate today. Right? And then imagine having to lose 100 pounds. That doesn't take overnight. Just like it doesn't take overnight to get there, it doesn't take overnight to lose it. It took me months upon months. So this man, I know he has a journey in front of him. And who am I to judge him when I've been there? In his shoes, maybe not as much, but walked. How do I know he doesn't have diabetes, right? How do I know if there's certain foods he cannot eat to help
Or
him
his
lose
thyroid.
weight? Or his thyroid. Thank you. She's like, Cerise? Or his thyroid. You're right. And so I started to feel bad. And I was in the moment of throwing my good, what could have been good thoughts out into the garbage. So I cleaned it all up, started to pray for the man, and then I realized, how many times a day do we think negative? And then we become the swine. Never mind throwing ourselves or our goodness, because we all have something we can throw to someone who doesn't deserve it. But who are we to deserve to even think if we're not going to think right? Okay, so again, when we are thinking, not just our emotions, throwing our emotions to people who are undeserving, but we can become undeserving just by the thoughts that we have. Okay, now also financial. Giving things away to people who do not deserve it. I have a client who had a beautiful car and a Bentley. And her husband passed on. And he was a very affluent, financially sound man. He actually used to own one of the car dealerships. And he passed on. He was much older than her. And so they had adopted a son. And they never had any children together. And so this son was raised not having to work for anything at all. So he says to his mom, you know, Mom, I want to take the Bentley out. I have a new girlfriend. I want to go out and enjoy myself. And she asked him to just help around the yard. They have a yard where you have to get into this machine, like a grass cutting machine or whatever, right? It's not a lawnmower, but it's a drive one. And all he has to do is drive up and down the estate property. It's like driving a car. And Angela's like, my money's coming in soon.
I'm thinking about how nice it's going to be cutting my grass with one of those machines. Is what I was really thinking, actually.
So that's what he had, all he had to do. And you had one before for your property out? So that's all he had to do. Get in and cut the grass. She didn't ask him to wash the dishes or anything. She has a dishwasher for all that. They have an inside service that comes and cleans the house and everything. Not one thing. This boy has a pool in his house. He has workout facilities. Anything he wants, it's all right there. They even have 3 other houses on their property. So yeah. So and from going from property to property, he uses one of those car scooter things. Right?
Where do they live? I want to know.
Exactly.
How old is he?
So, well, he's old enough to drive. I don't know his
He's
exact
too young
age.
for me, right?
You wouldn't want him.
No.
The things I hear about
I'm
him,
teasing.
you know? So then he turns around and he doesn't cut the lawn for her, but he goes and he takes the car out anyway, and the car is totaled.
Total the Bentley?
Yes, totaled the Bentley. Drinking and driving. And the girlfriend, the new girlfriend that he picked up, obviously, she doesn't want him any longer. She comes from an affluent family herself, so you know her parents were like, this dude, you know, we didn't raise no garbage truck driver here, so why are you picking up trash? Is probably what her family said, right? But this is exactly what was happening. And so the client said to me, she said, you know, I don't know what to do. I said, make the boy work for something. No matter how much money somebody has, you have to make them work.
You got to teach them work ethic.
That's right.
I know affluent people, I know doctors that make their kids go work in the supermarket for $10 an hour because they teach them. It's not going to make them live easy, you know? That's the right way to do it.
That's right. And we were
Make
talking.
them work.
That's right. We were talking about that last week, about your Uggs, right? You have to work for them. And look at you sitting there twiddling your feet and everything. Got your Uggs on, paid half for them, right? But doesn't it feel good? And I heard on the video too, which I didn't really pay attention to last week for some reason during class, but you got a new Ardeen dress or something?
Oh no, American Apparel.
American Apparel dress
Even better.
that you owed your mom money for or something like that?
Yeah, I'm working.
You're working it out this week for it. Okay, because last week for some reason I didn't really hear it too much during class because my attention's always everywhere. But when I'm editing the video, I hear everyone's comments. And I heard that comment as well.
So I did that.
Yeah. So this is exactly what that mother needs to do with her son, and she's not. And I really respect mothers that make their children work for something. You know, I have another client that overworks her daughter, overworks her daughter to the point where the daughter's like, I never get a break. But I'm telling you something, that daughter's smart. And people might think I overworked my daughter back in the day. She was working. And till this day, she's smart. So that's when it comes to throwing our jewels to swine. We can do it mentally, we can do it physically, we can do it financially, emotionally.
Wait, so even if you like, did you keep that thought in your head? Like you didn't say it out loud?
Wait, I said it in my head only.
Oh, okay, and you still, okay.
In my head, and God was like, child, how dare you even think that? Because the most judgmental places sometimes is church. And I'm one of the first people to say that. I'll be like, oh, churches are so judgmental. Meanwhile, here I am, one of the most judgmental people in there at that moment. And I was like, oh, this poor man is getting all kinds of darts from me. And remember, one thought leads to, one feeling leads to, one action. So not only was I throwing that to him, I would have been the mirror. Probably would have went home and gluttoned myself. Probably would have went and bought a couple of those chocolate bars and, you know, and who am I to speak?
But the thing too is, you have that thought, and even if he can't hear it, he picks it up. Even at a subconscious level, people pick things up.
That's right, they'll pick it up from the energy. And that's why it was so important too, for me to take that thought back in and fish out another one. Because I want him to pick it up. And then that's why I got my friend in on it too. Like, just throw the energy, because every thought has vibration. You are right.
So my question to you is, okay, for the years that you've always told me, stop throwing your jewels to swine. We're not saying this person is actually a swine, because he's not. But what the issue is like in that situation, I was giving too much emotional care, like bending over backwards and him not appreciating it. And then my financial, throwing that and him not appreciating it. So now that I'm trying to grow as a human being, because this is the next lesson, right? Like I've already done all that. Now to grow, what would you recommend, like for everybody, like online too, because everyone does what you're saying. Okay, so let's rewind and pretend we're all at church and we see the fat guy going down the aisle, right? So, no, like I'm just...
Overweight guy,
okay.
overweight.
All right, sorry fat guy. But anyways, so you would think instead of, like, because you have to try to revert the negative vibration. So now you're saying for us to revert that, we should just throw light and love to people, like,
Yes.
you know, we're trying to, like, because I deal with, like, a lot of mentally ill people on a daily basis, and they're always calling me. So instead of, like, thinking, like, because sometimes when the calls get a bit much, I'm like, oh my God, you know? So instead of saying that, I should just, like, try to send light and love to this person instead of being... Like, I'm not trying to say that, like
No,
be bad. I'm not trying to be bad. I'm just like, this person's called me 7 times already for the same conversation. Like, so in that situation, for me to better myself, because the journey is about me.
Right.
So instead of being judgmental, I should be sending light and love to people that have these problems to help them.
That's right. And catch yourself in the midst of the
Yeah,
thought.
before I
So
get
say
all the way there.
If you have a negative thought,
Mm-hmm.
where we are always aware of our negative thoughts, it just puts us in a whole like negative mode. At that point, say to yourself, if someone was thinking this about me, how would I feel? So throw it right back on yourself. And if you know that you're going to feel negative, then just send love.
Because I'm still trying to grasp the back to the Bible thing.
Yeah.
So you think when we are thinking negative thoughts about people, that's us being swines instead of throwing our jewels to swines. So now that we got that part down, like we shouldn't be thinking negative thoughts to people. So how would you say that we can, like, because when we're in love, sometimes we overly give, right?
Mhm.
So like I'm sure you have a lot of clients that would be asking the same question and would appreciate the answer, like listening to this online, like, okay, you're in a relationship, you're giving because you love this person with all your heart, right? So you're thinking you're doing the best by taking care of this person and loving this person and doing everything for this person. And then when they don't reciprocate and it's gotten to be enough is enough, that's when you say that we have to stop throwing our jewels to swines. Because for years now you give all your love and attention to this person, and then he shows up at your house with some other girl's car. And then wants you not
information.
then wants you to react. And,
Right. Well, I
You
would
know?
say even before then.
when do you say enough is enough? Like if you were like if we were in a group, like or not in a group, in a meeting to ourselves, right? Like
Right.
you're helping me do life coaching, and I'm telling you I'm in with this guy, blah blah blah, and we've been and I've been.
Well, there's definitely a fine line.
So where
because
is
you don't
it?
want to give, I was dating a guy one time who really loves the Bible. And he would, I'm always talking about these guys I dated. Gee, I sound like a serial dater. Anyway.
You're not Taylor Swift.
But anyway, what he would do, who's Taylor Swift, the singer?
Taylor Swift the singer. Every minute she's with
Every
somebody
song
else.
is about breakups. And
Oh,
she just
okay.
broke up with Harry Styles, so there's gonna be a new song about it.
Oh, okay.
And he was dating one of the Kennedys, wasn't he?
Jonas Bros, one of the Jonas Bros.
Yeah,
I
Jonas.
did have
Everyone,
a
and
Taylor
she did
Swift
love
song
it.
in my head all day. She's the one that sings that song. Dun, 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 dun.
Actually, yeah, I knew you were trouble. I knew you were trouble.
Oh my gosh, I've been humming that song all day.
Yeah.
Okay,
But anyways,
so the
the fine
the fine line definitely is, okay, so this guy, what he would do is, he would go to do something nice for me, and he would have, like, say, a gift. So he'd go to pull the gift out, and he'd go, oh, and I say, what? And he'd be like, well, oh, no, it's something, sorry, I forgot. Now I know full well the guy was about to take something out of his pocket, and he was going to give me something. I don't know if it's a card, money, a ring. I know it's something small, and good things come in small packages. So now I'm itching, and I want whatever he was supposed to pull out. It could have been tickets to somewhere, but he decided not to, and he did that often. That's too much. And I was always buying him little colognes, and I gave him, I am a gift giver.
Me too.
I am. I like when I'm somewhere, I like to buy gifts. But if you find that every single time you go out, you are doing something for this person, then bring it back a little bit. Do it like every now and again. Think to yourself, this person did something kind for you, I'll pay back. It's more like give a little, take a little. Yes. Who just said give and take? Yes, give and take. You want it, and it's not like, oh, tit for tat, like, oh, he gave me something, so it's okay for me to give him something back. Not like that. You can give 2 gifts and not expect anything back ever. But he at least needs to show the appreciation. And you know, when he wears it, maybe a cologne, right? When he wears it, he could say to you, I really love this cologne. That is an appreciation back. But if he like takes the cologne and puts it away and says, oh, this cologne is no good, I'll never wear that.
I did something original this one time, and I did. I really did. I met this guy at Jane and Finch. Oh my God, he's so good. I took a picture, and he did like airbrush the whole picture on a shirt. And for Father's Day, it was a picture of him and his son, and he put it on Facebook because he was so proud of it. And then instead of saying, my girl bought it, oh yeah, I bought it for himself. And I'm thinking,
He's selfish.
Right.
He's selfish.
That's where you're casting a closer on Swine. What that means is you give to people who would appreciate it.
oh,
I had to learn that lesson.
He
as well.
trampled on it, right?
Yeah,
He trampled on
That's
it.
where the swine is.
Yeah.
because he didn't appreciate that I did it.
Well
And
said.
when you give the swine, you don't get anything back. And the whole idea of giving is that when you give, you get.
Mhm.
So you only give to people that you know would appreciate it, and that appreciation is your gift coming back to you.
Right. Because I never
And you
expected
gotta
anything.
get something back. If it's nothing physical, it's at least love,
Yeah.
appreciation,
Oh, well, we all know I didn't get that
Yes.
either.
Jen?
But my feeling is that if you give, I give. But the person I give to may not necessarily give me, but it will come back to me.
Yeah.
It will
Yes,
come back
I
to
know.
me. It will come back to me in some form or fashion. Maybe not from that person. That's what my grandmother always said. You cast your bread on the water, and it
Yes.
will be returned to you. So, so many fold.
Mhm.
So I may give. You may not give me, but you may
Right.
give me.
But sometimes I
That's
feel like
right.
we attach like giving with feeling loved. Like, so I'm giving this to this person because I want them to love me.
Mm.
No,
Right.
Not a good way to give.
No,
Exactly,
that's not
that's
That's
what I'm
not giving.
saying.
What
So
what
I-
did you say?
No, I said not a way to give. You
That's
give,
right.
You give from your heart.
Right,
And when you give,
most people do that, and
But
that's
some
why we
people-
end up giving
Yeah, I
more
know.
to swine, because they will never be able to. They
People
don't
are
know
trying to
what-
buy love.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
buy love.
they don't even understand what love is. So